If you're anything like me, you'll be delighted that lockdown seems to be coming to an end and that before long we'll be in church again, being able to worship together. But St. Lawrence's has certainly felt the impact of the lockdown and now needs to look at its finances in terms of the hit that's been taken as a result of lockdown and the continuing impact of needing to look at our maintenance work we've got upcoming, which needs to be done. So let me go back to my presentation so I can tell you more about that. This is the parish's income from 2019, a fairly representative year of recent years in the church's history. As you can see, our income is fairly evenly split between hall lettings and stewardship through regular tax efficient giving from the congregation. We've got about 10% of our income coming from envelopes and loose plates and about 11% coming from farthings close. So let's look at what happened over the last year in terms of that income being lost. Well, unsurprisingly, a very significant amount of the hall lettings income decreased, almost down 70%. But more so income from the giving boxes around church, loose plate collections and envelopes. Now, as much as loose plate collections and envelopes might not look very much, this 10% actually makes quite a big difference, particularly when put together with the significant loss of hall lettings. I've created a diagram which helps us to look at the kind of income, the changes in income. It's called a water flow diagram. And this blue blob at the beginning is the very generous giving that took place about this time last year with the lost income appeal. And you can see we got about £14,000 with that. However, when you take into account the losses of stewardship giving, envelopes and loose plate, all of which are around 5,000 each, we get back to about naught. Only then to see the loss of income from the hall lettings taking us down to a deficit of about £40,000 in our budget for last year. Now, because the church has reserves, we were able to buffer those losses. So the fact that our budget was 40k down when it's normally very evenly balanced, as say, we're able to absorb that for the time being. We're able to absorb that in our reserves, and our reserves divide up like this. The nature of St. Lawrence's being a charity means that money that's given to it is often given for very specific purposes. So you can see here that most of the money we have in our reserves either belongs to the fabric fund or to property improvements. Now we've got more latitude with our property improvements fund than we do with our church fabric fund in terms of how we can spend it from a restrictions point of view. As you know, we've got some maintenance work coming up, money for which needs to come out of our reserves, and that's where the crunch point is in terms of where finances are for the parish at the moment. So let me talk you through that. You'll be aware that our heaters need to be replaced. 2 of them have been condemned. We're likely to have a cold winter. Our wiring is not only have we got old wiring left in place, but actually at the moment we're making do with multiple extension leads and cables, which is just not safe within church. Indeed, the wiring which isn't part of those extension leads and cables is sufficiently old that it's getting to the point of having to be monitored very frequently to make sure that it's not unsafe. Our lighting isn't great. We have problems with our sound and visual display. and you'll also be aware of the need for the church to be redecorated. Clearly that needs to happen after these works take place rather than before them. On top of that, we've got tree works, which are long overdue. Our neighbours have been talking to us about our trees for a long time, as in years. You can see this tree is at risk of collapsing in both directions. So that work cannot be put off. Now, taken together, those works look like they're going to cost in the region of or over £200,000. Which leaves us in a sticky place with regards our finances, because our reserves are either going to meet or not quite meet those costs, which leaves us very little wiggle room when it comes to continuing the maintenance costs of the church without an increase of income. So our request to you, if your circumstances allow, will you consider please making a one-off donation to help with the losses the parish has accrued during the lockdown? If you usually give by envelope or in the church place, then the request is that you give a donation by cheque or post, or convert your regular giving into a standing order. There are details of how to give on the parish website. Just click under About Us and then move down to Giving, and the rest of that page will give the information that you need. It's also possible to do a direct transfer using your phone or computer. The details for making a direct transfer are on the screen here and also available on the parish website. So that's the appeal. We're going to run it from the 16th of May, so that's tomorrow, through to the 24th of June. So hopefully the 24th of June will be the end of the lockdown period. The thinking is that we're giving in response to being grateful for being back in church, indeed for the church's service to the community and worship being maintained through the lockdown. But the reality is we're facing some significant costs at the moment, and clearing out our reserves won't make the future of St. Lawrence's sustainable at a time when we really do need to be available not only for each other, but also for our local community. So if you can give money to St. Lawrence's at the moment as a one-off, that'll be very much appreciated and will help us to continue our ministry and mission now and into the future. Thank you for your attention.